This meeting of the Reading Municipal Light Department Board of Commissioners is being held remotely on Zoom and streamed live on RCTV and YouTube. The RMLD Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of hearing public comment at the discretion of the chair on items of the official agenda. We ask that all questions or comments from the public be directed to the chair and that all parties, including members of the RMLD board, act in a professional and courteous manner when addressing the board or responding to comments. Once recognized by the chair, all persons addressing the board shall state their name and address prior to speaking. It is the role of the chair to maintain order in all public comment or ensuing discussion. Commissioner Stempeck will fill in for Commissioner Messino as the board secretary. And we please ask all remote participants to identify themselves.
Marlena Vita, Commissioner.
John Stempeck, Commissioner.
Bob Bolter, Commissioner. Okay. All right.
Could I make just a comment? On the screen, I have both Vivek. I've got your video with you muted,
Yeah.
and I've also got Vivek's iPhone. So
Yes.
You should probably only need one of those, I think.
I'm using dual systems to avoid any bandwidth problems. So
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
I've had a few glitches, so I said this is one way of making sure it doesn't.
Yeah, just curious. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is not a, yeah.
Okay. We'll move right into the public comment. Vivek, if we could have your comment from the Citizens Advisory Board, please.
Yeah, so normally the CAB meets before the Board of Commissioners, but our meeting is tomorrow. So I guess the only thing, so we really don't have anything that we would be putting up that would be coming to you right now. But the last thing that I know was from the December meeting, there was a discussion of the decarbonization strategy, and that was a motion that was presented to the board. And I know that was discussed at the board. That would be the only point.
Okay. All right. Moving on to liaisons to the RMLD board. Seeing none.
Hi, Jackie McCarthy, Finance Committee Liaison to the RMLD Board. Nothing to report here. Thanks.
Oh, I apologize, Jackie. I almost jumped over you. Sorry about that. My bad. And then moving on to the third bullet, public comment. Seeing zero public, we'll move on. How about the next motion, approval of the board minutes? Action item. John, if you want to read it in place of Phil.
Let me bring it up.
I can do it if you want.
Yeah, would you? Okay, please.
Okay, the suggested motion, move that the Board of Commissioners approve the meeting minutes of the November 17th, 2021 meeting on the recommendation of the general manager. All those, any discussion? None? All those in favor?
Aye. John Stempeck, aye.
Marlena Vita, aye.
Bob Bolter, aye. Motion passes. All right, moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. All right, I gotta move my mouse around a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, I'm now in the meeting.
Oh,
Hi, Phil.
Okay.
Welcome.
Would you like
My
to be?
internet's not working properly. It kind of died this afternoon, so I don't want to. I'm going to find out if somebody didn't pay the bill. You know.
I would like to ask that Phil now be the secretary for the meeting.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I would have come in on time, but I got a client who called just at the same time. So. Okay.
Everything's fine. Yes, thank you, Phil.
Phil,
Okay, great.
we're on item number 4 of the agenda.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Item number 4, the general manager's report. All right, suggested motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please, Phil.
Move that the Board of Commissioners vote to include 580 Main Street in the Adopt an Island Town of Reading program in addition to the existing 550 Ash Street for vegetation beautification utilizing below the line funds.
Any discussion?
Just out of curiosity, what does that cost for, say, a year? Just,
Probably a couple of $1,000. I could get, I mean, the vegetation that's at the end of Ash Street is pretty mature, so it's more of just trimming.
Mhm.
The 580 Main Street, where we're installing the EV charging station, we'll restore that surface working with the garden club. I've gotten approval from them. We had a meeting this morning with the DRT to discuss the vegetation. Clearly, we want things that are not going to impact the electrical system, or rose bushes or things with thorns that are not going to allow people to access. There was a lot of discussion this morning about the signage. Greg and I are working on an operating procedure that we'll be sending to the town that will show the signage for the charging station. To answer your question specifically about the vegetation for that entire island, which goes from the corner of Main and Haven all the way down to the end of the parking lot, we'll have to get some pricing on that. For the original restoration as part of the EV charging station, and then I'll be in a better position to give you like an annual maintenance cost.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Let me ask Paul, and I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. So the town is, everyone's agreed. Mary Higgins was great to work with. They're all excited about it. And we're excited about making another island beautiful in the town. We'll work with them on the signs, and the construction bid is due sometime, I think, next week, and we'll probably start construction in the spring as soon as the ground thaws. So, and the town also agreed to a site selection committee, which is Aaron Schaefer and Ryan Percival, so that we can continue to select sites that are feasible, both civilly, electrically, and also in accordance with the town's planning.
Any further discussion? Do we, in the great movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail, do we get a shrubbery? Right? It's a bad joke. Sorry. But
I missed it.
all those in favor?
Marlena Beta, aye.
Mr. Stempak, aye.
Mr. Pacino, aye.
Mr. Coulter, aye. All right, that passes. Thank you.
Sorry,
I'm
who
sure that's gonna
seconded
look
that?
great.
I'll second it.
Second it.
Or John Stempak did.
Marley.
I apologize. Thank you, Erica.
Okay, the mini board trainings that we talked about at the last couple of meetings, we're looking to schedule the FERC training maybe in February or March, where Wendy was going to go over basic FERC accounting. There's some legal training that's coming in accordance with our policies, so I'll let you know what those are. Probably some of the policies that are coming out in this meeting as well as next meeting. We're going to get back to those now that we're a little bit past a lot of focus on the climate law. We'll get back to the policy updates. There's going to also be open meeting law training coming up as well, to include all of the board. And you know, we try to do that every time there's more new members, so we're trying to plan that as well. We're looking for 2 meetings in February that we can talk about a little later when we're doing the scheduling. One would be Thursday, February 24th for the regular meeting, but then a separate meeting to go over GM goals. We usually do that as a separate meeting, but to try to combine that with the cultural company that we're hiring. Right now, that contract is in procurement, and we're hoping to have that set up for maybe try to coordinate that for the same day. That would make the most sense to have that combined. So Erica will send out a doodle on that one. Any questions on that? Joint meeting on economic development with the select board. So tomorrow morning at bright and early at 7:30, we're going to do a sunshine tour, which is now going to be full of snow and slush. We're meeting in the lobby. Erica did a great job on a tour map and some highlighted information about the lots and the structures to try to give the town new commissioners and also select board members and folks that work in the town and the planning a better idea of what our operations looks like. so that we can use that visual as part of a joint meeting with the select board in February, more March, to discuss economic development of the entire Ash Street area. So the town on their website under economic development, I'm sure you've seen some of their visions they've had in the past. You can take a look at those. But I think we need to move forward with what is more possible that could happen so that I can get back to a master site plan, which we kind of put on hold for a few years about fixing these buildings up and taking care of some maintenance issues. Some events. In the March, Jackie, this one's for you. We were requested to do a pilot update to the Finance Committee in March, so maybe I'll reach out to you or Erica to try to set up that meeting so that we can provide you with an update now that we've changed to the new calculation.
Sure.
Okay. In events, we have electric vehicle charging strategies webinar on February 1st. There's a link on the website of how to register. I know that Commissioner Talbot has volunteered to be on that panel, so that's really great. The purpose is to provide education on electric vehicles and the RMLD rebates to promote electrification. There was a press release that went out last week and will be promoted in an upcoming newsletter and additional email blasts. We'll also give a Reading Rotary update on January 24th. What's coming up is high school art contest. I know we love that because we get to select one for the cover of our annual report. That'll get kicked off at the end of January. The art theme, as I mentioned in prior meetings, is versatility, is what we used. Prior year was resiliency. This past year was versatility. The elementary art contest awards is February and March. We have to determine that. The pictures are just coming in, so we'll be hanging those in the cafeteria. I guess we can talk a little bit more about coming in to do the voting, mask mandates, but I think people could probably come in and take a look for voting. We did install some AV hybrid technology in order to do hybrid meetings in one of our conference rooms. It works really, really great. And the key is that we won't have any cyber issues with it. If people come in with their laptops or they want to do a presentation, we now have a technology and a design that it secures the isolation and prevents any cyber attacks. So we're very excited about that. That type of system is going into the large AV room where hopefully we'll meet back in the spring. We have brand new carpet going in there, so it'll look a little bit nicer. I know there was some tripping hazards before. With the new technology, I think that will be great for the spring. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that. Item 8, Paula O'Leary is our Chief Procurement Officer. She was asked to come in and go over some procurement highlights, which I mentioned at our last meeting. So she's going to do a presentation just short on number 8. I did submit the warrant article for the potential procurement of the land for the Wilmington substation. You were all copied on that. I didn't know if there was any questions, but as the town gets closer to issuing those, I'll make sure that it's finalized, but you can expect that to be on the warrant for the upcoming town meeting. And I think that is all I have on the manager's report. Thank you.
If I could just make a quick comment, I thought the layout of the maps for the walk around tomorrow were done very, very well. And I'd like to commend Erica for doing that. That was really a very nice way of kind of laying out the entire mapping and what, the history of it and everything else. It was very pleasant to kind of walk through that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. Good job.
Okay, hearing no more discussion, we'll move on to policy review.
Okay, so I'll try to go through these fairly quickly. Again, as I stated, we're going to start getting back into trying to put several policies on every board meeting. So this month we have 1, 5, 17, and 22. If you would like, Chair Coulter, I can kind of go through, or if you want to state the motions first, and then I'll kind of go through the highlight of the changes.
Why don't you go through it, and then at the end we'll do it.
Okay, Erica, I'm going to go through all of them, so I don't know if you want to put them up, or I'm just going to. So policy 1 is.
Why don't we start with the motion? Why don't we start with the motion first? I think, Mr. Chair. We better that way.
Okay, all right, Phil, well, that's fine. I mean,
I'll make the first policy 1.
Okay.
Move that the Board of Commissioners approve policy 1, community relations as presented, with no change on the recommendation of the general manager.
Second, Mr. Stempak.
I thought we were gonna go over it.
There's no changes on this one, so it'll just have
Okay.
a next,
Well,
Then what you do is ask for discussion though, right? And then.
Well, I was gonna ask for discussion, yeah, before a second. Yeah,
Oh,
the
that's
only,
fine.
the only question that I had, on that particular one, I know there was a thing about donations. Do we ever make, does RMLD ever make donations to communities?
not donations per se, but the law is pretty specific, and we always have new what I would describe as new opportunities that we have to make sure. So, for example, the fund for fuel, we don't we accept money as a sponsor, but we don't match it, so there's no contributions there. So we go through different things, and no, there's no donations to any charities or any 501(c)s. But everybody wants to reach out and try to do good things, and we just want to make sure that while it sounds really good and we all want to help, we have to stick to the line. So we do not, but we do get a lot of requests, and we have to review each one of them.
Right, because the only question that I had as a pole setting company, I know a lot of times communities will ask you to set poles around a park for lighting or something like that. And I didn't know how that would fall in under, what do we call that as an organization, or has that ever been done by the RMLD?
It hasn't been done since I've been here. That's not something I'm familiar with.
Would that be precluded? Say someone, there's a ball field in Wilmington. They said, hey, can you help us replace this light? Would that be something we would?
Well, we've replaced poles that are in parks, but they're owned by us. So generally what happens is if we're bringing electric service into a park, then generally we're setting the pole and we own the pole, or the park is renting the pole.
So Colleen, I think you're suggesting that'd be something that the town, let's say the town of Wilmington, would want to put in place, right? And so it would perhaps fall under the town's electric use. Would that be appropriate to say?
I mean, if someone wanted to install poles to put lights on, say, a ball field.
Correct. I mean,
Yeah, that comes under the town's responsibility, unless we're running electric service in there, and then we would install the poles or rent the poles and provide the electric service as part of providing electric service. But we wouldn't donate poles or anything like that.
That's the only questions that I had. Thank you.
yeah, that's because of the status of ourselves as a muni, as opposed to National Grid or Eversource, who are publicly traded companies, and basically they can kind of do whatever they want. Is that why that's the case?
Well, they don't do it either anymore. We used to. But
Okay.
I got
Sorry.
shut off. No, I thought you'd have a little bit more freedom as a muni, quite honestly, to do things like that. I was more interested to see if it's been asked, and specifically for like youth organizations. They come to you like, hey, I need a light. Not that they pay for the light. It's sometimes the pole. They're like, oh, can you help us out with the pole? Because they can't get the equipment in or whatever. So.
Now
Okay.
we don't even, and I remember a long time ago that, not here, but people would say, can we take used poles and use them for
No.
ski mobile or whatever? And there's a
No use.
hazardous issues with that, and so that's not even done anymore either.
Right. Okay. I have no further comments. So, is there a second for the motion?
Second,
All those in favor?
Marlena Beta, aye.
Mr. Stempak, aye.
Mr. Pacino, aye.
Mr. Coulter, aye. Okay. On to the next motion, please, Phil.
Okay. Move that the Board of Commissioners approve policy 5, overnight travel is presented on the recommendation of the general manager.
Any discussion?
I'll second it. Anyone
Alright.
second it?
Hearing none.
Do you want a high level of the changes, or do you want to just approve it based on the red lines?
You can give a quick eye level, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Quick highlight, we revised to reflect the current RMLD practice training, which is training in addition to overnight travel. So the form that's attached is now called travel/training. So this is authorization for both. The organizational chart had various position titles that were changed. There was some updates and clarifications to the authority of the approval for the training and travel. There was clarification on the mileage. There was clarification on all receipts being required, and a clarification on all allowable expenditures were clarified.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Marlena Beta.
Quebec, aye.
Mr. Pacino, aye.
Mr. Coulter, aye. Okay, Phil, if we can move on to the third item?
Move that the Board of Commissioners approve policy 17, tuition reimbursement as presented on the recommendation of the general manager.
Colleen, could you please give a,
Yes.
Yep.
Per the current organizational chart, human resources manager was changed to a director in a number of locations. We've determined that 6 courses per calendar year would be what we would look to for higher education. Semesters have changed a lot. They now have expedited classes that you can take that are 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So the whole definition of of what you would call per semester doesn't really pertain anymore. So we're willing to reimburse up to 6 courses per year. Employees are required to submit all receipts. That was clarified. Recommendation: if the employee is enrolled in a private college or university, the reimbursement amount shall not exceed the tuition rates applicable to comparable programs at a Massachusetts public university or college. There's a lot of classes that are offered locally or in a Mass public university or college that differs significantly from some private colleges. So we need to make that change. And clarification of employees not being permitted to use RMLD time or resources for taking the classes or for studying. Those are essentially the updates to that policy.
I just had a quick question, Colleen, and that's, Mr. Chairman, the courses, I mean, do you sort of decide whether the courses are appropriate in terms of being applicable for the job training, or, I mean, can anyone take any course that they wish to take?
We have guidelines as far as what is appropriate for an engineering-based company. Accounting, engineering, environmental sciences. These courses can double for some of a career development path, but we want the employees to be able to attain skill proficiency, and a lot of times higher education is the right way, or they may want to be promoted and move into a different path. And most of the science bases, we have sections for those, and they are listed as far as what is recommended. You wouldn't, if they wanted to get a bachelor's degree in history, that's not going to be authorized. But there's plenty of technical HR, accounting, those type of things that we need in this company, and we want our employees to grow. Did that answer the question, John?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second?
Second,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye, Marlena Beta.
Mr. Stempak, aye.
Mr. Pacino, aye.
Coulter, aye. All right. Phil, could we move on to the next
Yep.
item?
Yep. Moving the Board of Commissioners dissolve policy 22, pension trust presented on the recommendation of General Manager.
Colleen, if you could.
Yes, policy 22. So we discussed actually this policy previously, and the town handles the pension trust in accordance with the statute under current law, and RMLD has no authority. And we discussed that when we did policy 8 for the OPEB. But the OPEB, in the OPEB, the RMLD does have authority. So that's why there's a policy for OPEB, and we're going to dissolve this policy under the pension trust. That's essentially the purpose of dissolving.
And just when we moved everything, there's no remaining residual fund that's gonna be left behind, like, something crazy like all funds were transferred. There's no OPEB fund that's left under Reading Light, right? Is that correct? When I say that, that sometimes when you transfer a 401k for whatever reason, there's $2 left and someone could come back later on. Everything transferred cleanly. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, are you talking about the pension trust or the OPEB trust?
Well, the pension trust went to the OPEB trust, so.
Well, Wendy, are you on here? Do you want to?
Yes. No, they're two separate trusts. And right now they're moving the money. It's a transition period of moving it in certain bulks of money for the funds that they're investing in. So that is happening right now.
Okay.
So it is being moved. It could be mostly moved, but I understand what you're saying. And we'll report on that with the audit as well.
Okay.
So you'll see what that is.
Is it wise to dissolve this policy while you're still in motion? Should you wait? Because do you have any authority if you dissolve the policy?
I'm not understanding the connection here. I'm sorry.
Because Wendy, I think Chair Coulter is talking about the pension trust.
Yeah.
We still have the pension trust. It's just the custodian. And the OPEB trust is new. The custodian changed on that. So this still is in effect, just so you know.
So what I hear
now-
the chairman saying is that, if until it's completely handed off to the town and everything is in place and there's no, $1 left in someone's 401k or whatever it may be, should we continue to have this and get rid of it at the appropriate time? When
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry, John. No, it is with the town. It's always been with the town.
Yeah.
But the trust is, what I'm saying by the trust is still in effect. The funds are all together regardless, is my point.
Okay.
If I can clarify, we are not handling the pension trust. That is the point of dissolving this. The pension trust still exists, but it's with the town.
Right.
Okay, so the RMLD's annual payments to the town of Reading may be reflected as an operating expense in its rates without the creation of a separate trust. So this governing document doesn't apply anymore. There's still a pension trust, but it comes under the authority of the town with the statutes.
Okay. I guess that's all. I was just curious, so that's why I asked the question. All right. Hearing no more questions. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Marlena Beta, aye.
Mr. Stempak, aye.
Mr. Pacino, aye.
Mr. Coulter, aye.
Albert, I've just joined.
All right. Hi, Dave.
Hello, all.
Hi, Dave.
Bill, you're the accounting guy. You should have helped out there. Come on.
Dave, excuse me, Dave, we gave you a shout out for being on the EV panel volunteering. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, happy to help. When is that?
February, hold on.
One?
February
February
1st.
1st at 7 p.m.
We'll give you more details next week.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item number 6, integrated resource report. Mr. Phipps, if you could.
Very good. I'll share my screen. And you should be able to see the cover screen there. I'll make it fairly quick and simple. The intention tonight is just take a few minutes to update a couple of key relevant topics that we worked on last year together. And the 3 topics are basically the rates rollout, just a quick update on the rates rollout, and then we'll talk just a quick update in terms of some of the power supply stuff, just so you guys know what's going on. And then the last topic here will be a quick update on Hydro Quebec. All of these topics are informational. As we had mentioned at the end of the December 20th meeting, we want to talk about batteries and present a motion to you. That'll be a February event. So tonight's just a quick update on the rates update, 2022 rates update. So the basic rates that you guys approved last fall, the filing for the MDPU has been confirmed. The billing transition went very smoothly. Started January 1st. However, the PPCT and the fuel were a little bit higher than we expected for January relative to, well, they were really higher than we expected in general. But when we look at the bill relative to December, some customers are going to be, instead of in the 5, with the residentials in particular, instead of being in the 5% increase, it'll be closer to 10, maybe 11% increase. Some of that's tied to different usage when you compare them. The reality is when we set rates and bills, we look at it on an annual basis. So we haven't had very many calls yet, but we just, as we were processing the bills, we take a look at things before they go out, especially when we do a rate change. So we put some additional discussions on the website. We've equipped customer service with some additional talking points in case anybody asks why the rates look a little bit higher. The reality is it's not significantly higher than we originally expected. But when you look at it relative to December, it's higher. One of the things that we had in place in December, well, actually we started in September, October, November, and December. We had included in our PPCT fund some dollars from the rate stabilization funds. We did not put that in place in January. So anyways, don't expect a lot of feedback, but just in case somebody calls you, the reason is PPCT and fuel, which are both pass-through accounts. So that's basic rates. The renewable choice. So the renewable choice, the residential portion of that will be effective as of February 1st. The commercial and industrial, we're still working through some details in terms of how that fits into the TOU rate on the commercial and industrial side. So we're expecting March 1st at the latest for the commercial and industrial. In fact, March 1st will probably be the right transition point for the March bills. But the renewable choice on the residential side is pretty smooth. The way we ended up having to do it in our billing system was to show an incremental rate as opposed to incremental usage, which was the original structure. The dollars end up being the same. So all of our communication packages, the DPU filing, et cetera, are going to reflect that it's an incremental rate. Should be fine. The communication stuff, again, we've talked about this before. We want to be very proactive on the communication. So there'll be the newsletter that goes out on Friday will include the renewable choice rate. We'll do a press release at the same time. The website will be updated at the same time. There'll be some email blasts. And then as we get into the early March, we'll probably do notice on the Invoice Cloud, the e-bills. And then we'll also do something with our, for the paper ones, either something on the outside of the envelope. We have some ability to do special messaging there, but so in March, they'll do a follow-up communication. We expect, if everything goes as planned, that signage can start as early as next Monday in preparation for February. So that I think is going to roll out pretty smoothly. The A3 rate, which was the EV rate we talked about, that had the 3 tiers or the 3 sections. We're still working through some testing in terms of how that fits into our current billing system. in both cases for both the A3 rate and also, in fact, we're going to put it in place for the renewable choice, but there will be a little calculator so people can go in and put in some basic numbers and get an idea what the impact would be if they decide to do renewable choice. That'll be effective next week. In the case of A3 rate as well. So we're trying to make more and more updates on the website as part of our primary communication vehicle. So that's a quick update on rates. I'm gonna jump to the next topic unless there are any quick questions. Okay, power supply. So two main buckets of power supply stuff. The TFAs. We did 3 TFAs last year. They were primarily in the first half of the year. We tend to run the TFA analysis at least once a month. Looking at forward price curves, it's just looking at the trend, et cetera. We'll probably execute some additional TFAs, and they go out over a 4-year period, as you can see as an example here. Probably in the April, May timeframe is when we expect the numbers to be combination of where the price trends are going. That'll probably be a good price time for us to execute either 1 or 2, possibly 3 more FTAs in the year 2022. So business as usual on that side. And then in terms of the contracts that were approved in 2021, we had those 3 gravity contracts. The second item there and the first one, the Gravity Connecticut and the Gravity Dahoa. One of the things that you guys had requested is that we completed an environmental assessment, environmental justice. Those are complete on both the Connecticut and the Dahoa. Those both came back clean. We will likely queue up the gravity plant number 4 in New York this spring. In the case of the Dahoa plant, the PPA is fully signed. We're expecting to take power starting in realistically probably April, just given some maintenance they're doing on it right now. The broadleaf solar, that fourth item down, PPA is fully executed. The Seabrook solar, which we approved also last year, we expect to sign the PPA in February. The Vineyard Wind, the PPA will probably be in the March timeframe. We talked about that quite a bit on the last 2 sessions. And then the Seabrook Nuclear, which the Seabrook Nuclear is one of 2 pieces in terms of the nuclear piece that we presented back in December. Our goal is to split, as you remember, just to manage risk, is to split between the existing 3 reactors that remain in New England, Seabrook being one, and then there's 2 reactors down in Connecticut at the Millstone facility. So the Millstone guys are still working on a proposal. We're working back and forth, both as RMLD and also as a consortium with some other of the MLPs through E&E to see where we can get a better program. But that second part's going through. The key thing I wanted you guys just to kind of walk away with here is that these are all long-term contracts, 25, 18 in the case of the nuclear, the Seabrook one, because we were going to start in 2031. But each one of these are 20 to 30 years. And that's one of the benefit to our ratepayers of being an MLP is we can do these longer term contracts. We can get some better pricing because the generators have an idea of what's coming down the road. So anyways, that's a quick update on power supply. In terms of the power supply stuff, as I mentioned, in February, we'll come back with some requests for approvals on some of the battery projects that we talked about, probably the first 2 of 5 that'll happen over the next 4 years. And between Hamid and I, we had identified the E&O team and the IRD team locations for each one of those, but we'll give you more details on that afterwards. Any questions on power supply before I jump to the last topic? Last topic, Hydro-Quebec. Again, this is information. Remember, we talked about transmission being very important going forward for all of the region, not just RMLD. But we have been, RMLD has been part of this consortium through E&E for the past 20 years. We were actually in earlier than that. In this particular case, we have both transmission rights and we also have equity rights, a small portion. This Hydro-Quebec transmission line is an existing line that's already built. It's 2,000 megawatts capacity. It goes from Canada. It actually goes back to a facility, a hydro facility in the northern part of Canada that is fairly stable in terms of output. So we have a small piece of it, which is good. The challenge for us the question would come, we have transmission rights and we have equity ownership. Why aren't we taking power from it right now? Which is a good question. The reality is all of our little MLP consortium are less than 100 megawatts, and we need to, the minimum bid to participate is 100 megawatts. So one of the things that we're working on with E&E, hopefully we can pull it off this year, but it might be 2023, is actually to create some additional participation to allow us to actually start taking power through this. It's a win for us either way. Right now, the structure is we actually get dividend payments. We basically sell our rights and we get dividends from our equity portion. Our output, our expenses last year, just as an example, in this bottom table, was just under $150,000, but the dividends paid out a little bit over $550,000, 555. Net benefit is just over $400,000 a year. So we're still ahead of the game. Very nice. The intention of this project was not as an investment vehicle. It was meant to have transmission rights, and we're going to try and turn it into transmission rights. But as it sits right now and going forward, it still be beneficial. There's another 20-year contract that we are committed to participate in. There's no exit clause to it in terms of the current one. But it is going to require just about $230,000 over the next 4 years, about $57,000 a year for the next 4 years. But that's going to return nearly $1 million in the following 16 years. So it's still a win for us either way. So I just wanted to let you guys know, because it's not a trivial little rounding error. I also wanted you to know that we're involved in this transmission as both a rights holder and an equity holder, which from a political perspective is good as well. We're putting our money where our mouth is in terms of pursuing not only non-carbon generation assets, but also transmission from Canada on the Hydro-Quebec side. That's the quick summary for me. Any questions?
Greg,
Yes.
Quick one for you. What would it take for us to break the 100 megawatt barrier? We would become an investor then.
Commissioner, the goal for us, so we would maintain our small little equity portion. It's a 0.5%. But we really want to get, so that's a benefit that pays dividends anyways. We're probably, as we total everything up, we're probably right around 92 megawatts. So there's a small portion left. And I think the issue for us is not so much the capacity to fill it, but to gain other transmission rights to get us up to that 100 megawatts. Because we have to have not only the load or the requirements of 100 megawatts, but we also have to have the rights. So we're trying to figure out who we can get some additional rights to. Again, another 8 to 10 megawatts. So hopefully we can creatively pull that off so we can actually start taking power. It's not critical that we have it for the next couple of years, but as we go forward in time, we're going to want to have this power.
Yeah, absolutely. If we went out, we made a purchase to break that barrier, it would obviously be $500,000. It would absolutely be worth it.
Oh, yeah. It's not so much the dollar issue isn't the challenge. The issue is finding somebody who's willing to give up their rights. And I say sell their rights, right? That 8 to 10 megawatts of rights. So that's we're pursuing this. We're going to try and figure out a mechanism to do it because it's going to be beneficial for it. I think we're all on the same page that we want to get into a transmission perspective, but in the meantime, it's more than self-funding.
Yeah.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
I'll release
Any further
here.
No further questions. Move on to item number 7, the engineering and operations report. Hamid, if you could, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Let me just bring my slides up. Okay, you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's start with well, first, thank you for the opportunity to present my report. It's been a while. So the first slide is showing the status of our reliability, basically across all the indices, SAIDI, KD, and SAFE. As you could tell, year end December of 2021, all the numbers are really low, much less than the regional and the national averages. The blue line shows the national averages and the green line shows the regional averages, meaning the Northeast reliability. So across all the indices, everything is, we got one of the most reliable systems in the Northeast region. The next slide is showing you the causes of the outages as of December 2021, the year end. Excuse me. You see the red is 2021, basically year to date, and also the blue bars, they indicate the annual averages from 2016 to 2020, a 5-year average. The only thing that you see we've done more, actually, we've had more outages. They've been on the equipment. As you could see, we had 45 as opposed to 5 years average of 36. And you're going to see in future slides the reason for that and why the equipments they have been failing again due to the aging of the infrastructures and no basically maintenance for decades. This is the result of that's catching up. However, we're doing much better. We have it under control, and you're going to see in future slides the plans that we have in order to do much better. And the rest of the categories, basically, we are doing okay. We're less than the 5 years average, so we are heading in the right direction. So this slide is going to talk about the RMLD's maintenance program. The reason that our reliability is so great, it's because of all these programs that we have instituted. So I'm going to draw your highlight. The highlight of these is the two basically items: 13.8 kV conversions, and also age transformer replacement program, which is annual program that we do. We replace so many of the transformers in the system. In future slides, you're going to see that what are the conditions and what circumstances those transformers they're going to be replaced. We actually exceeded the goals into those two areas. Overall, it was a very, very productive year for us. And we were able to convert lots of those 4 kV areas to 13.8, which means it's actually upgrading the infrastructure, the wires, the poles, and everything, which is going to be which is a key factor to the reliability. Also, the age transformer replacements, you're going to see in future slides that this year we had a record-breaking number of transformers, the age transformers that we replaced, and we are proud of that. 13.8 kV conversion step down. This is very important to the reliability of the system. We got lots of those 4 kV areas that we're now converting, upgrading to 13.8. Basically, upgrading. It's not just upgrading the poles. Upgrading includes the wires, transformers, poles, all the accessories. Basically, redoing the entire area, which means we got to be good for another 15 to 20 years. If the system is maintained well. Now, these are the areas that basically you see that we completed, and this is again, that was record breaking. We got a chance to do lots of these areas, large areas, like the South Street is a large area, Central Street is a large area, Lower Street and Main Street in Linfield. That was a big, huge project that was completed. We got a small portion left to do that got to be coordinated with the customers underground portion, which is going to be completed this year. What are the benefits of these programs? Really, it's going to basically help us to reduce the line losses, which is, it's costing us money and the ratepayers money. So the lower the losses, much better, the system performance would be, and more efficiently the system runs. And that means that, the reliability improved and the voltage, system voltage support is getting better and better. The other successful program was the CY 2021 underground subdivision upgrades. We got approximately about 200 subdivisions into the system. Most of them, they're aged and, they're due for upgrade. We have a system. We have basically prioritized them based on the age and the condition of the subdivision. And we're going through the overall system, overhaul as we're going through the age transformer replacement program, which means we're replacing the transformers, primary and secondary cables, termination, elbows. So everything is going to be brand new as we go through these developments. Again, we did lots of those, as you could see, last year. Usually we get a chance to do 3 or 4, but last year we got a lot done. You could see that, we got like 6. Again, the same benefits. It's going to improve the reliability, reducing the losses, and improve the voltage in those old neighborhoods. This slide is talking about the age transformer replacement program. This program started back in 2014. Since the inspection of the program that started in 2014, in 2021, we inspected almost 732 pad mount transformers that they were over 10 years in service or age. The reason we went to 10 years and up because we had few premature failures of less than 25 years old, because 25 years old, it basically is the demarcation that the manufacturers, they recommend if the transformer is reaching 20 to 25 years of age, it's time to consider for upgrade and replacement. And, we did this year 179 overhead and underground transformer. It was record breaking. We usually get a chance to replace maybe about 100 to 120, but this year we did 179. Despite the pandemic challenges and the shortage of the staff. So we had a very productive year in doing the maintenance and the capital projects. And this is one of them that, one of the successful programs. So what determines the transformer really that needs to be changed? Even though we have prioritized them based on the age, we still look at other factors like the condition and the load of the transformer. And those got the big portion. We set up a scorecard in order to determine which transformer, when it's going to have to be replaced. So there's some science that built into that. One of the reasons that transformers, they fail, it's because the oil degree of polarization starts, deteriorating. And the demarcation for the distribution transformers is when that level falls below the 200, that means the transformer is now due for failure, or it needs to be upgraded, replaced. Distribution transformers, they have the age, approximately the age or survival age for that is between 40 to 50 years. And that on the right, on the left side of the corner, left lower corner, you could see that, the life of the transformer exponentially decays as the years of operation going up and the years on the service, or it's getting aged. So around for this particular curve is for the substations, which you see that, around 200, you're hitting the 40 years markation. But for the distribution transformers, that number is around 25 years of the age because it's a weaker transformer with respect to the substation transformer. We got approximately 1,308 transformers that they are over 25 years. The total transformers in system-wide, there are 4,009 transformers. So we got these number of transformers that, continuously they're on the list for the upgrade. Again, based on the age, load, and the physical conditions. We also changed our transformer spec back in 2019 that we no longer replacing the we no longer purchasing the live front transformers, and we replace them with the dead front type, which is much safer to work with. The new transformers are more efficient and with the lower losses. So that's another benefit that we're getting from this program. This shows basically each month by month, how many transformers was replaced in 2021. As you could see, this chart over here on the right, the pie chart shows the number of transformers, the system-wide, that there are over 25 years of age, and the lighter color, light brown or pink, it shows that, the transformers that are transformers that are 25 years or older, I'm sorry, and that 67% of the system are less than 25 years old. So the dark brown shows the number of transformers that are less than 25, and lighter one shows the number of transformers that they are over the 25. So we got 33% of the system that the transformers, they need to be scheduled to upgrade. And that's how we approach for the replacement. The next one is the next successful program that we got into. That was the miscellaneous construction, like, you know, and it's one of the budget items for Padmont switchgear upgrades at industrial parks. In the industrial parks, we approximately have about 25 switchgears into the system. They were antiquated. And as of January 11th, 2022, we had replaced 17 switchgears have been replaced. 6 units alone last year was replaced. Usually we get a chance to replace 3 or 4. Last year, again, we were able to, with the customers' cooperations, to replace 6 units. And in 2022, we have budget item to replace 6 more, which 4 are standard and 2 of them are a special order for auto transfer that it's in Riviera Park in North Reading. So we also had completed few new projects, new developments. These are the locations. I'm not going to read the one by one, but basically 4 new development that we got a chance to complete. Lots of constructions. CY 2021 smart grid automations. Usually every year we have these SCADAmate switches and IntelliRuptor switches that we replace 4 of those. We installed 4 of those and 2 of the IntelliRuptors. Last year, we installed 5 SCADAmate switches and 3 IntelliRuptors, which these are smart grid switches that they have the capability switches to join the IntelliTeam or fault detection, isolation, restoration, which means when the fault passes through the 2 switches, they can talk to each other and they can isolate the fault before it damages the equipment. So it saves money for us, less truck rollouts, you know, and it's a great savings overall for us. And it's going to help us to restore the outage, non-outage area or non-faulted section of the feeders in a matter of seconds rather than hours. Again, the benefits is improved reliability, faster restoration. It integrates with our outage management system, and also they provide metering data to the SCADA. One of the important metering data that we are interested and we're getting as we're adding more and more EV charges and also more solar load is coming up. This is something that, you know, we are very concerned with. It's about harmonics. And this is what the industry basically, it's not, we are kind of behind it because it's not a problem yet, but we foresee the problem coming up, which is going to impact the power quality. And we are, as a proactive measure, so as we're installing these switches, we're using the capability of the switch, not only for the faster restoration during the outages, but also getting the telemetry data from these equipment so we can monitor the harmonics and the power factor then, and make sure that we deliver the quality of power to our customers. So smart grid projects, these are the ones that they were completed in 2021. We did a communication study because one of the key factors for these smart grid devices is communication. They got to be able to talk to one another so they can isolate the fault fast and restore the non-faulted section of the feeder. So this is completed. We're getting the reports pretty soon. So we know what type of radio and what kind of communication device we better use in order to have robust communication. It's either fiber usually or the 900 megahertz radio. The AMI MDM study was completed. So now the consultant, you know, completed and reported that, you know, we need to change our AMI system because it's age and it's reached the end of the technology life. We also need to install an MDM, the meter data management system, so we can house all the meter data for billing system integration with Cogsdale, as well as for the demand side management and demand response programs that IRD would like to implement. The outage management and IVR integration. IVR stands for interactive voice response, meaning the meters, they're going to send the last gasp message to the outage management system, and outage management system is going to identify the customer meter number and the information from the customer information, and it's going to send a message to the IVR to activate the response and getting back to the customer depending on the method of the communication that they choose to, either phone, text, or email, and then that way, they can be notified. So far we have about 800 customers that they have signed up for this, but we need to probably launch another campaign and encourage the customers, more customers to join this very exciting program. So it was successfully tested, and now we can roll that out. The next one is the customer notification system. This is basically for customer alerts and notifications during the system peak and also for demand response programs. So we are getting into contract in order to build the system or design the system. So that's in legal for the review, and as soon as we have that completed, then we're going to get started with that. And hopefully this one is going to be done by end of this year. The volt VAR optimization, that's installed. It's in the testing mode right now. This is the one that, it's going to improve the power quality. It's going to improve our power factor. As you know, we have the higher power factor, meaning lower losses. And that's what we are focusing on. That would be great savings for our system. So that's another successful program. These are all modules of the SCADA system that, again, being proactive and using the technology and following the best business practices, and to make sure that we deliver the best quality power to our customers. SNC smart grid training on these smart switches, the training was completed. So all the staff, engineers, and technical services and operations staff, they're fully trained on that, and they know what to expect about the safety procedures, about the construction, the best methods, and the communications and everything. So they have been trained across all areas of construction and operations. In CY 2021, we did lots of testing at the substation 3, 4, and 5. Our cyclic testing for the transformers, breakers, relays, and some of those devices is 3 years, although a NERC is requiring 5 years. But we want to stay ahead of the game. We want to be more proactive than reactive. So we even though we don't have to do it for 5 years, but since we have the equipment and the staff that they're very capable of conducting those tests. So we implement those testing, and we test all the breakers, relays, and transformers every 3 years. The transformers for Station 3 and Station 4, they're due for 2022. So this year, we're going to start testing these 5 transformers, and then the testing for these are going to be complete for the next 3 years. We don't have to worry about it. Now, with regard to the Station 5, this one, we're being more aggressive. We are testing everything annually because the substation is old, and until we build the new Wilmington substation, we just need to make sure that everything is in good working condition, which it is right now. We try just to maintain that to the best we can until we build the new substation and transfer the load to the new substations. So these are the accomplishments. Then I wanted just to show you how much work was done in 2021 and the great accomplishments. The kudos goes to the operations staff that, their cooperation, collaboration, they were able to get these done and focus, on the maintenance and the reliability projects that, they were assigned to. In substations, we installed VLAN at the substations. This is security, and this is per NERC, to make sure that nobody can, can hack the system and disturb the integrity of the system. The NERC Directory 1 relay upgrade at Substation 4. Again, this is the NERC mandated program that is requiring the National Grid and Eversource to upgrade the relays on 115 kV with the high-speed relaying. And now that means now we're going to have to sync our relays with theirs. So we've gone as far as we can until, they give us the plans. And again, we are ahead of curve on that one. We're ready for them whenever they do their study and tell us that, what type of relaying they're going to be using, so we can sync our relays for protection with theirs. We ordered, this is another proactive measure that we took, and it was completely done. We ordered the spare parts that, take for the substations. These are the long lead items. And I'm glad we did this, because some of these items for the substations, now you're talking about 2 years, waiting 2 years and more for those. So we ordered all the parts that we need, just in case something breaks down. We don't have to, at the last minute, jump through the hoops trying to find to find a part. So we feel very comfortable with that. We repaired the tiebreaker at Station 5. This tiebreaker was tested. It was weak. So again, we didn't want to take the chances. We sent it out to Texas and they fixed it, and it's on its way coming back this week. Engineering and operations special projects. We had lots of NERC training and NERC physical and security, cyber security, SIP 002 and COM 002. These are the programs that the NERC and NPCC, they have instituted, and they hold us accountable. They hold all the utilities accountable. We have a committee that, including myself, I'm being the delegate, Colleen is the manager, I'm being the delegate for the delegate manager to implement. And, these are the members of the teams that we are all watching for all the updates. We are going to the website, NERC, NPCC, making sure we're not missing any of the, new requirements. And we make sure that for every requirement that's coming new, the staff are trained. And, we also trained everybody on the incident response plan, because within 28, some of them within 12 to 24 hours, we need to provide a report and send it to NERC for further follow-up, or you're going to end up getting a fine. So the staff are fully trained to handle all the NERC and NPCC requirements. We finally, the next item, we finally negotiated successfully the contract, the 5G contract with AT&T and Verizon, and now that's in place. It's being implemented. We did a hosting capacity study for the solar generation. Some of the studies being in-house, and some of the larger ones, it's being done outside. So it's mapped on the GIS, so we can track the solar installations and the impact that it would have on our feeders. And it's being updated every 6 months. So right now we're due for another update that we should be getting that this month. We also set up the primary metering task force as we tested all the primary meterings system-wide. And, we are reviewing those one by one. And some of those we are getting rid of. And some of the ones that they need to stay, we are going to update the PTs and CTs, the parts, just to make sure that they're not causing any reliability problems and the metering is accurate. So as we're going through this, we have approximately about 70 of those. We also, the next item, the SPCC plan was updated. That was the spill prevention and coordination plan that, it was updated this year. So we're up to date with the EPA regulations requirements. The VMP plan, vegetation management plan, it was sent to all the 4 towns, tree wardens, and it's all signed and all approved by all of them. So we got that done. In facilities and purchasing and materials management, they did lots of work, especially this last year. I don't know if you noticed or not, but you approved approximately 40 bids, and that was the product of our materials management, Paulo and her team, which did a wonderful job. Lots of work and effort is going into these. It's not just, the bid that, you see, and we're coming over here and we are asking you for the approval. Lots of work goes behind it. And these people, they're doing a wonderful job on it. The stocks and ground maintenance, OSHA remediation, we got a plan for that. We studied back in 2017. And also they made some recommendations. We're making a great progress on those. They're almost 90% done. There's some of that related, the remaining stuff that they've done. It's for the Station 1 that we got an exit strategy for that. And, But we've done what we could, what made sense to do as far as the OSHA remediation plan concerns. We installed the AC cooling system at Station 4. That helps to increase the thermal ratings of the feeders at the substation. So during the emergency conditions, we can pick up more load and switching between the feeders. So that was another successful project. Substation 3 generator bid was awarded. And this is one of the items that, it was supposed to be done last year. Unfortunately, the generator delivery kept being postponed. So they postponed the delivery generator 3 times. So now the latest day is September of this year. So September this year, we're going to change the generator upgrade. And this is my favorite, the new Wilmington substation. These are all the tasks that it's going to have to go in order to build a new substation. As you all know, we have a location, a proposed location to purchase the land on Ballardville area. So we've done the load allocation study. This was done on a MillSoft. We have an engineering model that our engineers and myself, we did the study for the load transfer and what is the best scenario that, it's going to give us the lowest losses in the system and the system could benefit the most. Because this says this new substation is supposed to take the load of Station 5, as well as providing the load relief for the other 2 substations, for Station 3 and Station 4. Once we build this substation, we're going to be good. We're going to be very, very strong as far as the sources are concerned. So I can't wait until to build this substation. This is going to be my 8th substation throughout my career that I'm building, and we are building, and we're going through. So I'm very excited about it. These are great projects. So the site survey was completed in 21. The environmental assessment was done in 21. Also the land appraisal, we just got the appraisals, for both of those. So the rest of these, it's going to happen between 22 to 26. So as you could see, this is a lengthy project. It takes time to build the substation and also transferring the load from other substations to this substation. Another very exciting project that we did in collaboration with our IRD team, Greg and his team, which was really exciting. And, we actually had to think about, re-strategizing about the loading strategy, transformer loading strategy. Our transformers are being loaded at 80% of the nameplate because, and in anticipation of getting ready for more load, more EV chargers. So we dropped the loading requirement or loading capacity to the 70% of the nameplate of the transformer. And as we go on and more of these, they coming online, we're going to have to drop that, the loading of the transformers maybe to 60%, at some point maybe 50%, because these EV chargers, each one of them is equivalent like to 3 or 4 houses their load. So when being fully charged. So we got a grant, as you know, we got a grant for $78,000 for L2 level 2 EV chargers at 5 locations: Wilmington, Town Hall, and the library, and the Reading at the library, and also the Haven Street, Main Street, also Linden Street. So at library, we also have a grant for the hopefully future, if we get the grant for $99,000, I guess, grant for the level 3 chargers. If that's approved, which I believe it's going to be sometime in March, April. And then, one of the L3 chargers is going to go in the Reading. So the project updates, the EV chargers, we were purchased and delivered. The construction RFP, the bid opening for that is next week. So the state contract deadline is July 10th. And like what Colin mentioned, we're going to start the construction in April, May. Until they're done. This slide, there are poles. I'm not going to go over that, but it shows, as you could see, there are lots and lots of poles, especially in the Reading areas and also Wilmington areas. So you might see some double poles, that we are doing the best we can, trying to transfer our wires, our assets from the old to the new, which is good. As we go through the area upgrades, I'm asking our valued customers to be patient We are doing the best we can to transfer them as fast as we can. And then we are asking Verizon and Comcast also to do the same. So all in all, it's good. There are lots of construction going on in all 4 towns. And that's what's actually what's contributing to the great reliability that we have. So that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them if there are any. Thank you so much. You're on mute, Bob.
My turn?
Yeah, yeah, next.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Hamid. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coulter. And I just want to say it's nice to meet those of you who I have not met previously. It's been a long time since I've been to a board meeting. I just wanted to I have 2 comments. I just wanted to add a little bit more to what Hamid was saying relative to this, the length of time it's taking for bids, for equipment and materials to be sent to us, and the delays that we're facing. The supply chain has definitely been interrupted. Not only, we have longer lead times, but also lead times, as Hamid used as an example, we were given an original lead time, and those are being extended as far as the generator is concerned. I believe it was December, then it was April, and now it's September. So that's a sample of exactly what's going on with the supply chain. Vendors are also not holding quite quote pricing longer than some deadlines, and they've shortened their deadlines on their quote pricing too. We've even heard that some vendors aren't even bothering to quote because it will take a year or more to get either the supply or the equipment or the material. Some of the breaks and delays in the chain are due to shortage of personnel. As you know, lots of people have left their jobs, and other people unfortunately have been out ill with the virus. So those are just some of the things that purchasing is facing too in this particular time that we're in. And on the 40 bids from last year, I just wanted to let you know that already here it is January 19th, and we've already assigned 15 numbers to either bids, quotes, or proposals. So we haven't lost any pace in that regard. Now, some information on bidding that I know has come up in the past, and although I don't have this particular one on the screen, we have the age-old question is, why one bid? Well, let me tell you, this question has been asked. Many boards before you have asked the same question, believe me. Okay. Some of the reasons, and I'm sure you've heard some of these too, some of them, sometimes the vendors can't meet the specifications that we put out there. Some some say they're too busy, and that actually wouldn't be fair to RMLD to put in a bid if they're not going to be able to offer their services or equipment. Okay. Some don't have the resources that we're looking for necessarily. And yeah, sometimes, bids are restrictive. Our tree trimming bid is a good example of that, in that we have very high safety qualifications in that bid. For instance, we require what's known as EHAP certification, and that's an electrical hazard awareness program. And that's where employees who are trained, if they're going to work 10 feet or closer to energized conductors, they're trained in the special hazards that could involve that type of work. And I will say not all tree companies necessarily have that particular training. Prevailing wage, that's on the slide. Prevailing wage, as many of you may know, is under the Massachusetts general laws that any of our construction projects that are called public works, they require payment of prevailing wage. The Division of Labor Standards sets that rate, that wage. And in order to comply with it, the vendor has to fill out a weekly certified payroll report and also a certified compliance statement that has to be submitted along with their invoices. is it a lot more work? Yes, there's much more paperwork involved and filing. And again, you know, this is just a guess on our part, but it's certainly a reason that some people don't like to fill out a lot of paperwork. You know, prevailing wages also, some people don't want to pay prevailing wages, you know, especially I'd say some of the smaller companies, because again, they don't want to pay wages that might be that high. With every bid, we send out what we call a non-response form. And I have to tell you, we get very few people fill that out. Again, we send it out because we'd like to know, you know, what our bid looks like. Is it too restrictive? You know, can you help us out for our future bids? But we very rarely get a response on that. Actually, I think we're going to try maybe rearranging where the form is within the bid to see if we can generate some more answers on that. That's one thing we'd like to try anyways. And also we have, at the suggestion of the board now, all of our bids are going out for a minimum of 3 weeks, where it's a minimum of a 3-week return for the submittal. If it's a particularly complicated bid, we'll even add more time to that. You know, we might go out for 4 weeks if it's particularly complicated. Depends on the projects. So those are some of the reasons that I can tell you that we've gotten either, you know, sometimes we will send out an email as to why people don't bid. And again, we get very low response. A lot of them don't respond. I leave messages for people, call them on the phone and ask them, you know, could you please just get back to us? We're just curious, you know, why didn't you bid? And they don't respond to my phone calls, you know. Yet on the other hand, I get a very friendly, oh, I'm sorry, you know, we're really too busy and we just couldn't do it. But, you know, we'd love to, you know, keep us on your vendor list, and maybe the next time we'll be happy to put in a bid. Sometimes bids have to be rejected, and that, you know, of course, knocks down the pool of vendors that you're dealing with too. Some of those reasons are the bid submittal may not meet the specifications. There might be, it might have been submitted after the date and time. It was non-responsive. That means it didn't conform to all the terms and conditions set forth in the bid documents. Not responsible, that would be one that doesn't have the integrity or the capability or the reliability to do their work. We would check references on that. That's how we would determine whether or not a vendor isn't responsible. Sometimes people don't put in all the forms that are required, particularly the statutory forms or even the forms that RMLD requires. As a local jurisdiction, we can put forms in the bid that are required above and beyond the statutory ones, which are the non-collusion certification and the tax compliance certification. For instance, in our electrician bid that went out not that long ago, an on-call electrician, we asked to have a master electrician's license, to include their master electrician's license, because you have to be a master electrician in order to work under a master electrician in order to do so. The company often has the master electrician's license, and one of the vendors did not include it. So as a result, that bid was rejected. Bid signed by an unauthorized person. Again, within the bid forms, we have a portion where if you're an individual, then you're the person signing that. If you're a partner, one of the partners signs. If you're an LLC, one of the members of the LLC must sign. And if it's a corporation, then we require a certificate of vote that notes that the certain people, it can be one person, it can be more than one person, are allowed to sign the forms. And if an unauthorized person doesn't sign the form, then we reject the bid. We had an instance of that where I knew, this is back a few years ago, where I knew that the person signing as secretary was not the secretary. When I phoned him and said, I know you're not the secretary. And he said, oh, I just signed it because I was in a hurry to get it in, you know, and that was unfortunate because at that particular time I had to, the bid had to be rejected. Sometimes, let's see, exceptions. Some bidders will take exceptions to the bids, and sometimes they are acceptable and sometimes they're not. That would depend on the department reviewing the specs to see whether or not an exception is acceptable. Sometimes there's too many exceptions, and in that case, it's almost like you're changing the whole bid, and the bid would very well be rejected in that instance. Or if the bids come in way over budget, RMLD always has the right to reject all bids if it's in the best interest of RMLD to do so, and that wording is contained in all of our proposals, bids, and our quotes. Does anybody have any questions? I know those are some of the questions that have been discussed, and always feel free. I mean, I'm open to questions. You can send questions into Colleen. She can always send them to me, and we'd be happy, and we very happily take your suggestions also. Thank you. Any questions, anyone?
No, well, thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Paula.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate it. I can just let you know, I feel your pain every day trying to get simple things like a 50 kVA mini pad. You can't get them.
No.
National Grid can't get them. Every vendor that's out there can't get them. And from what they're saying, it's steel now. They can't get the steel to make the mini pad.
Right.
It's insanity. We're looking out like 5 months right now for mini pads. So it's just, and that's just, then it goes to 100, 150. It's and then bids for conduit in the ground are just out of control. So feel your pain. No response, huge prices. So
yes, the price fluctuations have been difficult too. You know, that everything has gone up. Everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to item number 9, procurement request requiring board approval. All right, action item.
Ready for the motion, Mr. Chair?
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Which one is that?
This one.
That's the one we're
Oh, that one
actually-
was canceled.
That was canceled, right?
Yep,
yes.
sorry.
Okay, just want to
that was
make sure
canceled.
everyone knew that that one was postponed to the next
That was
the
postponed.
next board
Hold on.
meeting.
Okay.
Yep, no bidders.
Come on, I can get check cleared. I'm on camera again.
Oh, you are.
The check cleared.
Hi, Phil.
Okay, so we'll skip item 10 and move right on to item 11, suggested motion. Phil, if you.
Okay, let's see now. Move that the Board of Commissioners go in executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 47D, exemption from public records and open meeting requirements in certain instances to discuss competitively sensitive issues regarding general laws. Should that say Mass General Laws? Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, little a, the number 1, and to consider purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property and return to regular session for the sole purpose of adjournment.
All right. All those in favor?
Oh,
Back aye.
Aye.
Talbot, aye.
You know, I.
Mr. Coulter, aye. All right. All right, adjournment. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, see you on the other side.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.